on the 70 C20 hillbilly truck, I've done a lot of custom AC hoses, and I've used this tool a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and do a quick review and show how to use this tool. If you watch the first video, you'll remember I put in a under dash air conditioner system rather than spend the thousands of dollars for the vintage air one. But I put it under the console, and I'll probably throw a picture of where that was. I'll throw it right here. And then I piped the compressor out, under the console through the firewall and ran everything else back and forth. It was just a relatively inexpensive, I wouldn't say cheap because it seems like it's built pretty well. And maybe on the link in the back I'll throw a link on where I got it from. It was from Amazon, and I'll give you a clue. But what's nice about it is it gives you the instructions, and they all do this, and it tells you what size fitting to use at each section, and it's a number 8, and it tells you that it's a a half-inch 11 or 5/16 hose. It tells you everything you need to know, the fittings on the end, so if you have to replace them, they're easy to get. And you screw one up, you'll have to replace it, and they're cheap on Amazon, a few bucks each. So I'll go through this really quick, and we'll crimp one here, and then we'll go out to the truck and we'll take a look at one. And so this is your clamp. This particular one is a Mastercool 71550, and I got this online from Tooltopia. This thing ranges from that Tooltopia. I got it for $130-ish, and you can pay up to $280 if you feel like it. And it's the exact same part, the same case, everything. They also have a hydraulic one for $530 if you feel like spending that kind of money. But the way it works is it crimps it, and you crimp it all the way down until this gap is closed. And so whether you use a wrench, an impact, or hydraulics, it's going to go till this gap is closed, and that's it. So one's not going to do any better. One's definitely a lot easier if you do a whole lot of them and you're doing it on the bench constantly. I'd probably get the hydraulic one, but for most of us, we're not making hoses all day long. So quickly, to take this apart, you got two choices. You can bolt this on the bench. You see it's got the bolt holes, and you can bolt it down, especially if you're going to use a ratchet and do it. You don't want to bolt this to the bench and bring the hose over to it. Me, I leave it open because the way I ran the hose on mine through the firewall, and I kind of made it so I couldn't put the hose together and then feed it through the firewall. It wouldn't work, or through the radiator support. So I kind of attached it and built it on the truck, which is no big deal because I have this tool. If I ever have to fix it, I just cut the hose and put in one of these guys. So it's not going to be a problem, although I don't see any reason why I would have to do it. So what you want to do is move this lip up out of the way, pull the pin, and then you can flip this out of the way and put your connection in there. Now this is a number 10, and I've got I want to say it's a number 9, number 8 in there. So we'll pull these out. We'll stick the 10 in there. It kind of snaps in, I want to say really nice, but sometimes you got to slap it around a little bit to get it in there. And you want to make sure it's seated, because if you ever had it crooked and you put it together, it would not do a good job. There we go. And then clamp it. Put the pin back through. Make sure I got that held in the right spot. There we go. And then you just stick this guy through and clamp it. Now we'll do with this end. It doesn't really matter. You'll do it the same way. I do want to point out these fittings, and I think they almost all do. They have a little hole right here. And I kept a little drill bit, or you can use a cotter pin, a paper clip, anything. And you can stick it in this hole when the hose is in, to make sure if you don't feel that in the hole, the hose isn't in far enough. So we'll go ahead and shove this in, and you can see this hose is going to say the number on it. It's going to give you that, and this one says 8P, and so that's going to tell you what size it is. Now I push it in, and then I take my little drill bit and I make sure. Now you can see the hoses there, but what's good about this is if you're in a tight spot and you can't see, you can feel around and push that, and if you don't hear it hit metal, you know your hose is in far enough. So we're going to stick this in, and you want to make sure it's pretty close to center. You want about 1/4 inch or so past on each side. You see that? Yeah. And then I usually just take it and hand thread it down to make sure it doesn't move. And like I said, you can use this with a socket. I use a regular electric impact. You can use an air impact. The hydraulic one, I mean, for the extra few $100 you'd pay for the hydraulic one, I'd use that money and buy an impact wrench that you can use for a lot more stuff. So make sure I'm on tighten, and you keep going until this gap closes. Make sure we can see that gap. Got it closed, and we'll back it up. Pull it out. Now, if you've got it on the car, you can't just yank it out. You'll pull the pin and flip it out of the way. But there you can see it does a real nice job crimping it, and that's definitely going to hold the 200 psi that this hose is going to. It'll hold much more than that, with no leaks, no problems. And we'll go out and take a look at the one on the car. Alright, just like before, we'll slap that on there. Find the pin, push it through. Sometimes you gotta wiggle it a little bit, get it in there. Been there before. Once you get the pin in, make sure it's centered. And just snug it down. And take a last look once you get it snug down. Just make sure that your hose is in the hole, which my thumb's covering, but there you go. Just to make sure that the clamp hasn't slipped or the fitting hasn't turned. Like I said, you could do this with a wrench, but right now this would be awful hard to do with a socket and a wrench. You could do it, but it'd take a while. And same as before, just get that lip out of the way, otherwise you won't get it off. You can see this guy's crimped up pretty nice, tightened up, and as promised, there's a look at the under the dash air conditioning system that I chopped up to put in my console. Alright, thanks for watching.